Starting. All
Three,
right.
two, one, go.
Yep. Now it says it's live. I guess we'll start with an introduction. I'm Tom Lawrence of Lawrence Systems, and you are?
I am Dodi Glenn, and I am from PC Pitstop. I'm the VP of Cybersecurity.
Cool. All right. Now we got that done. Where do you want to start?
Well, a little bit about myself first, just to kind of give you the background. I've been in this industry, in the security space, probably about 13, maybe 14 years. I've done everything from your technical support phone calls, talking to mom and dad, to technical support calls, talking to IT admins, to QA, to development, to managing an entire antivirus lab of about 100 people, to now, product management, and now where I'm at with as the VP of cybersecurity for PC Pitstop. So my role and responsibility now is to really, oversee the research part, but also to bring together, certain partners, certain organizations together with us and kind of do good to really protect the systems that are out there. So one of the partnering companies is Microsoft, right? So in order for us to be in Windows Security Center, we've got to have a relationship with Microsoft that says we have been validated, we've been certified, our product meets specific criteria to do what we say we do. We've got to show that we pass tests, not just one test. There are a couple of tests we've got to pass, and sign off all their contracts and red tape that Microsoft loves to do. But yeah, I've been doing this for quite some time. I'm also on the board of directors for a nonprofit organization that their sole mission is to look at building better test scores, or test sets rather, to have scores that are meaningful for anti-malware products, rather than just having these fly-by-night kind of companies that say, I get paid 100,000, 200,000, whatever the money is to give a good test score. These are guys that are actually doing it for the better sake of the community. And I think, prior to even joining PC Pitstop, testing has always been something that's very important to me. And I think as an former IT admin in my past life, it's important to know how well your product is stacking up against others, because there are times where products do go up and down. There are some times where, your product may fall through. And the way I view testing as a guy who's, at a software company now, is I let this third-party testing really validate not only the work that I'm doing, but also provide feedback. There are a number of bugs that we've found in our own software from testing houses. So it's kind of a, two-way relationship.
Yeah, no, that's very good. This is one of the problems we had as well. One of our policies as a company, we're an IT services company, but we don't resell any particular antivirus. That way we never stay committed, so to speak, to anyone, because it's subjective. You go back a few years ago, the product we recommend is not the product we recommend today, because the market changes, the product, we see failures in it. So we're always dynamic in that. We want to provide always the best antivirus for our clients, not the one that pays the most commission or the one that was in highlight because some company bought a 2-page ad in PC Magazine type thing. You know what I mean? And I'll admit, it's still a challenge finding really good information that's concise and clear for AV. And I think part of it, just the nature of virus being really tricky, because if one product blocks a virus, another one blocks another, but the opposite can be true for a different virus where that product blocked it and the other one didn't. So we are always looking ourselves in the best interest of our business clients and consumer clients for recommending the best one. And that's always tricky.
Totally. And you've only got what, 54 or 55 plus to choose from?
Yeah, and then I've seen, I'm not as clear on this, maybe you know about some of the insights. I mean, we know the big names in the game, but as I understand, some of these companies are now allow a white label rebranded version of their software.
It's really common, really common. Yeah.
So that makes it more confusing, because technically it's actually this product, but it's been white labeled as another product, so another company can resell it under a different name. Right. And that only makes it that much harder to figure out, is this even, the challenge for removing viruses sometimes is, what is this on your computer that's popping up? Is this actually a legit program, or is this some random program that we need to remove? That's a challenge. We have a retail store, so that's a challenge we face every time retail customers bring in computers for virus removal. That's the puzzle we have to solve, is, do we need to remove this? And what actually brings us to this conversation all the way around to PC Matic is Malwarebytes has become one of our absolute, and me and every other tech, they've become the juggernaut of the market for cleanup software with their Malwarebytes and their latest version. And of course, it flagged your software. So I think that's what brought us all together today.
Yeah, so the little kind of story behind that is last month we had, a couple notifications from our customers and, employees as well, noticed that Malwarebytes was detecting us as what we call this potentially unwanted application, PUA, PUP, potentially unwanted program, however you want to call it.
Yep.
So when we look at that, we're like, okay, well, we're not potentially unwanted. And I think where the sort of painting with the same brush happens is that twofold. Number one, we advertise on TV, and that's rare for security companies to do. And what happened in prior years, you had the finallyfast.coms and the Fix My PC Nows and those guys that really were like true potentially unwanted programs. So what we ended up doing is we did do some system optimization. And these optimizations are done really as legacy software. So when you look at our software, the core component of the software is not the optimization. And I think, in the video that you had done or you had shown, and thank you for doing that, really just shows a lot about the optimization stuff. What the customer gets from actually paying for the software, think of the optimization stuff as a freebie. The optimization stuff is for legacy systems. Let's face it, Microsoft did a really good job at optimizing the registry for TCP/IP stack, for the TCP/IP stack. They did a good job handling, or now even detecting that you've got an SSD drive in the machine so that you don't do a disk defrag. You don't want to do that on one of those drives. So those kind of, add-ons, if you want to call them add-ons, aren't the reason why our customers are buying our software. In fact, we don't even lead with any of that stuff in any of our marketing material or any of our television ads. We are an endpoint security product.
Right.
That means that we protect the endpoints from malware from hitting the machine, and we work in a preventative fashion instead of a reactive fashion. Prior company, 2.5, 3 years ago, I was pulling 1 million new samples every day coming into the networks. 1 million brand new MD5s, unique MD5s every single day. The fact is blacklisting technology cannot keep up with that. You can look at Gartner, you can look at Forrester, you can look at all the analysts that are out there, and they'll tell you the exact same thing. It cannot keep up with it. Signatures are dead when it comes to detecting files that are blacklisted, to put on a blacklist.
Oh yeah, and it's, it's a big undertaking what you guys are doing with whitelisting. Whitelisting is, so to speak, what makes the tablet, phone, Android ecosystem work. And I know where Microsoft's going to go, because you only get applications from there. And I'm a big Linux guy, so, and being Debian based, you only pull from the repositories. So you're essentially whitelisting. That's why it's not that Linux doesn't get virus, but if you're only pulling from repositories, you simply don't have as much to worry about, because you're pulling from a single source of executables that have already been certified prior to you downloading them, which is inverted to the way it works in the general Microsoft world.
Right. So and I think really it's important to talk about sort of the past a little bit, about why whitelisting in the past has failed so badly. And we're even guilty of that to a degree. In 2014, you saw we had a lot of false positives on our virus bulletin, some sluggishness with it. Then we were using another third-party antivirus product. You had mentioned, the white labeling stuff. Well, we OEM'd a third-party component. We no longer do that. We're all our own code right now. So our stability has improved significantly. But going back to the whitelisting stuff, manageability was the biggest problem. And what I mean by that is you would put the file, you'd put your anti-malware whitelisting application on, and like you said, your machine would stop working effectively. And then what would happen is the IT admin would have to go through his entire network and find out what's good, what's bad, and then whitelist that. But the onus was on him to do it. It wasn't on the vendor to do it. So my research team, actually, what they do is they go out and actually find the good files for the IT admins and for consumers. And rather than having the consumer do it themselves and figure out what's right or wrong, we take that burden. This is what our employees are being paid to do. Now, what happens is, though, is you'll see some files that are based over in the UK, which is where one testing house is, or in Germany or Austria, which is where 2 other ones are located at. And they're prevalent to that location. They're prevalent to that geographical location. So while you'll see some FPs that are out there, what happens is with on our technology, we're no lie about it, the majority of our customers are US-based customers. They don't have these issues where when you install the actual component after you've paid, because that's where we do charge for the security component. That's when you really start seeing the power of what this whitelisting can do. And more so, you see that files aren't being blocked incorrectly. And the other cool thing is like, you've probably seen what I call an extinction event with several anti-malware companies that are out there. They blow away Explorer.exe, or they blow away Shell32. They blow away something, and now you reboot and your machine's completely dead. Yeah, those are never good. So our thing is,
Norton had that problem, what, 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I won't talk about brands just to stay.
One of the big guys did.
Yeah, one of those big guys, right? The David Hasselhoff commercial guys, right? But yeah, so what we do is we don't remove the file off the machine. It's important to know that, because what we'll do is just prevent the execution of it. So 2 things. One, if the file is a false positive, it's not going to go away. You can whitelist it manually yourself, and then the problem's solved. Or 2, 4 hours, between 4 to 24 hours later, our team's going to see the file. We get all the files that we block, and we'll see the file, and we'll whitelist it globally so that everybody gets that new whitelist update. So that's the cool thing about having an automated cloud system.
Yeah.
We do it for one customer. There's only one victim, and then everybody gets the signatures. So the other thing to bring up about, go ahead.
No, I said that completely makes sense. I mean, it's a very logical way to do it. It comes down to, I mean, creating that many signatures. It's the inverse problem of trying to create that many signatures for the viruses is trying to create that many whitelist signatures. So I said, I don't know. There's so many programs out there. I'm not sure how you guys, maybe
yeah, but that's the cool thing about partnerships. Yeah. The cool thing about partnerships is we actually have ways where we talk to companies like Microsoft who expose APIs to us that basically secret sauce stuff that we know that it is from Microsoft. And we can validate that it's a Microsoft file, so we know we never detect it. And the other thing is we can predict what they're going to do when they release new pieces of software. So will we ever have 0 false positives? Never. We'll never. Which brings me to the next point of we'll never pass a virus bulletin test. They test 800 to 1 million files for clean files. If you detect one file, you fail the test. Doesn't matter if you've got a perfect score on the detection rates. If you miss one file, it could be a game that they happen to have in their repository that no one cares about. But it's a false positive, you missed it, you failed the test. Our goal isn't to pass that test. Our goal is to block as much malware as we can, and that's what we do at the RAP score. That's why the RAP score, and more specifically to the points that you had brought up about, I can't find the numbers where they're getting 82% here and 93% here and whatever.
That's very confusing.
Yeah, we're working on that right now. Kudos, appreciate you, the heads up for that. Actually, the marketing team and comm team, our communications team, are actually working on that right now to clear that up, where we'll link to each one of those reports. So we appreciate that.
That'd be great. But, I mean, I prefer truth in advertising. I guess the simplest 100%. Way. Because I've never been a fan of convoluted marketing speak. I'm a tech guy.
Yeah, I'm a techie guy too, right? Marketing's not my forte, right?
Right.
Sorry,
I want to know the
exactly. Let's talk zeros and ones instead of the little.
We deal in levels of precision.
The data doesn't lie either, so that's the other thing, right? Believe in the data. So, but no. So we took some test reports that were actually, you had to scroll to the bottom of the page of the RAP test itself to see that proactively, meaning how the test was done was how well do you block from from 0 day of no more definition updates up until day 5 or day 10. How well did you perform at protecting or guessing what the new malware was going to be? That's what our strong point is we can block all the new malware. You can make something polymorphic server side. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It's never going to appear on my whitelist. Therefore, it's never going to run. And that's really, just like the iPhone. If you want to download something, you go to an app store and you download it. We don't have an app store. We have a cloud-based system. But if you go and download Microsoft Office and put it on your machine, it's going to run. If you download the latest NVIDIA drivers, it's going to run.
So, the common software.
Exactly, all the common software, but even some of the uncommon software, right? We have some companies, some of our enterprise companies are law enforcement agencies. Okay, well, that's not common software to have their specific software that can search, the FBI records or whatever it is they're trying to do.
Right.
But that's software we've got whitelisted. So even uncommon software is there too. But to kind of bring up the whole Malwarebytes issue is when we release the test results and a commissioned test result, as you pointed out, we paid to have that test done for a specific reason. But when we released that test result, very soon after was when this Malwarebytes fiasco started. And we, call it coincidence, call it the planets lined up. We feel that, hey, there's something a little bit off when it happens that way. So what do? Well, we went to our normal communication channels. We sent an email to PUP or PUA at malwarebytes.org. Got a reply back with a block of copy paste text. This is why we detected you. Had no truth about what it was that we did. I then said, okay, I happen to know a higher up, a VP over there. Used to work with them before too. Reached out to this VP, contacted him, and he said, I'll pass the ball to the team that handles it. Okay, cool. This back and forth, and then dead silence. We actually created the blog post that you had posted to, or in your video. That was actually a response to the detection, not a response to Malwarebytes blog post. So there's actually another blog post that talks about the direct response to what Malwarebytes has said.
Malwarebytes was on the 12th. What's the date? I'm looking
about December the 12th.
Yeah, December 12th was Malwarebytes, and you guys then posted on the 23rd.
Yep, and there's multiple posts that are there as well. But the case in point is we then reached out to Malwarebytes and then posted publicly on their blog as a comment to their blog post. Still to this day, they have yet to allow our blog or our reply back to come back publicly. So they're not allowing us to reply. Right. So what did we do? Okay, let's bring it up to a different level. Let's take the CEO of Malwarebytes and the CEO of PC Pitstop, and let's let those two guys work together. And so far, it's been successful. But what's been said about the product originally versus what is now being said about the product and what's now being corrected in the product really aren't making sense. They're three different things, in fact. And truthfully, what it boils down to is color coding of the software, where we say something is red to look dangerous. We've now changed all of that. There are some changes that we've made also to, instead of it being fix now, it's just a next button. There's no fix now. That's gone. And basically anything that's red is going to be something that's either a vulnerability or that's going to be malware itself. No more red color for anything but that. And then the text is also being changed that way. We're not going to offer a 30-day trial like some companies do.
I'm fine with that. I don't understand why that was a criteria in Malwarebytes My. That's a business choice. Some people offer demos, some people don't. And that's why, I skipped right over it. I said, Malwarebytes thinks this, but I made no other comment.
It's a business decision. It's exactly right.
Yeah.
But what we do.
Business owner, I understand that.
Totally.
We don't have a free 30-day trial. We don't fix.
Give me a free hour of your time to fix my computer, so I can tell that you're a good technician, that you can repair my computer.
I didn't understand that Malwarebytes for a criteria, but yeah. But I did agree with and I did see you changed it when I read your blog post, was stopping Google Chrome from auto updating, because that's one of the reasons we like Google Chrome as a browser, and Firefox does it now too. Is the auto update feature helps keep people safe, because reality is no one will update things unless you automate the update. That's that as well as I do when it comes to end users.
And I'm glad you brought that point up, because there's a reason why we do what we do when it comes to stopping the auto update. And the reason is that we take care of the auto updating ourselves.
You update Chrome?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Same with Java as well. And the reason why we do that is because some of these applications, Java, comes down with all the extra bundled crap.
Correct.
The asks.com, and it doesn't automatically install unless it's been configured that way. By default, it throws the dialog box. Well, what have we taught users in the past? Don't click on anything.
No.
So what do? They click the X and it goes away, and 24 hours later it pops back up again. And it's this method of insanity that just happens, and they're like, what do we do? And then you guys come along as a service tech and responsibly say, that needs to be updated. Let's go ahead and update Java. So we actually strip out the bad stuff, but still behind the scenes allow vulnerability updates to occur. The other thing we do are driver updates, which very few companies actually do. Slim Drivers is one, but they're dedicated to just doing drivers only. They really don't do anything else. But we do update our own drivers. Why? Because of the same situation. Not only that, there are vulnerabilities in drivers, right? There's the keyboard mouse issue, I think, with Logitech that happened at one point.
Yeah.
Where you could
but it's also becoming a moot point with Windows 10.
It is. That's right. Windows 10 is doing a better job. I don't say they're 100%, but it's doing
Microsoft's their own animal, but we live with them.
We have to, right? Exactly. But that's what we do, right? This is what we're doing. So when it looks bad, like for somebody to say, oh my God, a security company is disabling an update service for a vulnerable product or a product that's potentially vulnerable, how dare you do that? Totally get that. I would do the same thing if but what needs to be known or clear is that we do the updating for the customer. It happens when we get the updates. It happens automatically. They don't know about it. It's underneath, the covers. It happens behind the scenes. No adware gets installed. No true potentially unwanted software gets installed, toolbars, things like that. And the customer is still remaining protected. So it's a big difference there. So with regards to the defragmentation stuff that had been mentioned, and why would we disable the disk defrag? Again, legacy software. Windows 10 supports SSD drives. We have technology in ours that actually will detect an SSD drive. You can see it in the front UI. And we won't do a disk defrag when we know that it's on an SSD drive. So it's preventative maintenance in that regards. Don't do something that's going to be bad for an SSD drive. All my machines have them.
In my test, because I loaded in VirtualBox as my usual test environment, I noticed I wanted to turn off my auto updater for the VirtualBox drivers. Is that something you guys update as well? I wasn't clear on that.
It's one of those where we've known that it can cause performance issues, but I've actually already documented that. And because we're a cloud product, we're going to remove that detection. Most of our customers aren't on a VirtualBox system anyways, right?
Yeah,
we're using bare metal systems. Yeah. But, again, this is why benefit of testing helps us, right? It's something you put, you called out, my dev team's already working on it to remove it, and it's a signature update, right? It's just in the cloud, and the next time you do a scan, it won't show up anymore. So, but to me, detecting that does not make you a PUA, PUP product. To me, no. That's a bug. And just like Microsoft and Google and everybody else who have bugs, it's just a bug that needs to be fixed. Okay, cool.
It was just the confusing point, because you're clarifying. I have now learned more in this, 20 minutes into this? Right. I've learned more in 20 minutes than I did spending an hour on your website reading through your marketing.
Yeah, and the thing is when you've got marketing, how many seconds do you have to engage with the customer? 10, maybe 15, maybe 30 at most. We do a 60-minute commercial sometimes, and even those don't always do that well. So no.
And users are very different. I generally, the channels a lot of antivirus companies go through is educating people in the tech field, such as myself, small businesses, that, you know, we are the service people, because it's not like they call you and ask you for a recommendation. We're doing their IT. So the question they always have us, what antivirus should I use? So as a service provider, and other people in my category, we all have the same question. And this is, you know, this is something we need to know. So I would, if you guys had a for text only, we would read that. We look at that. Malwarebytes does that, because you know, they have a more technical. They're not trying to sell it to the end user. Most of their focus is trying to get a business like mine to recommend their product. So they give us a lot of tech details of what's going on.
Sure,
That's,
absolutely.
Maybe that's something you guys can talk to marketing, where, you know, I like blog posts from the tech side. Less, you know what I mean? That's how I base my judgment on many products that we recommend.
Less marketing, more technical, how we're doing things.
Yeah, because it would have answered the questions, and I don't need to do a video when I have the answer. I can go, oh, look, this blog post tells me that they ought to turn this off because they can do this and this. They make it very clear and concise and technical details. You're right, it's not for the end user. It's not what you know, I wouldn't waste any time putting a commercial together on that, because that's the wrong audience. We're not the ones watching commercials. We're hitting the blog post going, all right, how is this database updated? How does it do this? How do I whitelist? We're looking for the technical details so we can recommend this as a product to our clients.
Yeah, and I'll throw the offer to you. You know, if you want a lifetime license, I'm glad to throw you one. You know, it's not a problem at all. We can get you a lifetime license. You can actually turn on the real security part of the product instead of just seeing the intro part, what we call Super Shield, which is a real-time protection. You can see it actually go to work. And if you want to throw malware on it, if you've got your own repository or whatever, you can throw it. Try to run the malware on it. It's not going to work, right? Because it's not going to execute.
That's actually been really tricky. We were doing that the other day. We were trying to find some crypto lockers, and this is actually one of my shocking targets, and this is why I didn't do a video on it. Even crypto locker that was only like 2 or 3 days old from one of the sites we were able to pull it from would not execute in what is that? So the one built in to Windows, the Defender. Yeah, Defender actually found it, and we were shocked because it was like, wow, within 24 hours, even Windows Defender was able to find this malware.
But imagine that window of opportunity, though. How many people were infected where before at the 0 hour weren't detected? You know.
Oh yeah, you're right. So that's you're right about that. And so, you know, it's kind of interesting. Malware testing, like I said, I played around with it out of my own curiosity. But it's very time consuming. And the more I play with it as a thought, I realized the complexities of it and had a more hands-on understanding of malware. We always see everything post-mortem. You know, we deal with infected machines. We're always trying to figure out how can we stop them from being infected. But I understand why it's so tricky to find anyone who's doing testing on it, because it's so hard to get a hold of these viruses.
Samples, yeah.
It's a tricky problem.
It is, you know, and that's sort of, you know, that's one of the challenges that the testing houses face, is where do I get all my samples from? Because you'll start tainting the test if you take samples from vendors, because you know the vendor's only going to send you stuff that's 100%.
Exactly the problem.
And that's why when we did the commission test, that was one thing that we were like, we're not going to do this. We want you guys to find the files yourselves. I don't want to know anything about your files until the test is over. So the other thing that I wanted to point out was you were talking about dates. One was listed as September for the test, and the other one was October for the narratives test. What happens is the test is commissioned in September. The results come out in October.
Yeah, and that's my comment. I said maybe that's what it was. It's just
that's exactly what it was.
Okay.
But, you know, but let's put aside those tests in and of themselves, right? Let's talk about MRG Effitas, who is another testing house company. So Q3 2016, they did what they call a 360 in the wild test, and you know, Malwarebytes had scored on this particular test 58.6% on the detection rate. For Malwarebytes. On Microsoft's turn, Microsoft scored 64.9%. So this wasn't even a commission test that we had done. These are just results that somebody had done, and no one commissioned these tests actually. You know, then another organization called Zemana commissioned a test with them. And again, it's a common thing to do in this industry when you don't have people, or you don't have vendors rather, who want to participate in public testing. You have to, you know, you've got to pay to get them to do the test because it costs money. But they scored second best, right? You know, instead of scoring 40 out of 40 for the samples, they only detected 23 out of 40 for the samples. So I think what's happening, or what you're seeing, and your point is exactly true, because I've done the same thing. I've used Malwarebytes to be the kind of cleanup crew. But as for something that's going to stop malware 100%, the test results are showing differently. The test results are showing that it's not the best at doing that. You know, but for cleanup, you know, 24 hours later, 48 hours later, for a system that's become pretty hung up, heck yeah, that's in my arsenal, right? Same with hijack this, probably AW cleaner, ADW cleaner as another one, maybe C cleaner would be another one to clean things up.
Yep.
You know, we all have our own tool set, right? Even bootable disks are out there. Higher-end bootable disk is one that, you know, a lot of techies like to have in their set. Hitman Pro is another one, you know, that people use. So, yeah, that's great. But our point is and really where our big success is at is rather than playing cleanup crew, we want to prevent it from ever getting on.
Right.
And I think that's the way it has to go, because with ransomware right now, $300, great. What if they start infecting people at $500, $600, $1,000, $17,000, like we've seen corporations?
We've seen them hit the larger hospitals and seen them in the news for like what, 17,000 was for the transit authority or something. So
exactly. So
the numbers are going up.
And why? Because it's pretty darn lucrative, right? Before they were focusing on Trojans. You know, how can I steal bank account information? How can I do that? You know, some of those products are, you know, or malware are now kind of long gone, but the same actors that are behind it, or the groups that are behind it, switch gears and move it over to ransomware.
Yep.
So, you know, a few years ago we were talking about it, and it's like, what if ransomware became a worm? Hey, lo and behold, guess what? It now jumps from local machine, network shares, bounces all around, and it's now become worm-like in nature too.
Have you seen the new social engineering tactic?
There's a couple. The text message one that they're doing.
Yeah, and the one where if you infect 2 other machines and they pay,
yeah, they credit you.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I mean, you know, these, and it's kind of interesting because some of these organizations, these criminal organizations, actually have customer support lines too.
Yeah.
You can actually call them up and say, hey, Boris, wherever you're located at, can you help me unlock my machine? Sure. And I'll help you go to go get some Bitcoins and then pay it and things like that. You know, probably less than 10 years, maybe 6, 7 years ago, they were doing the green dot money pack.
Yep.
Right. You had to go to Walgreens and go buy one of the little credit card things and prepay it and then give them the PIN number and then they pull your money. Why do you think they stopped? It was no longer anonymous.
Yeah.
Green dot has tracking capabilities of who it's actually being redeemed by. Hey, look, they know that. What'd they do? They stopped doing it. So now they switched over to Bitcoin, which is more anonymous. And now what happens? Well, supposedly you can track some Bitcoin transactions. So they do Bitcoin washing.
Yeah.
Right. So now they wash them. So they pass them out all over to a bunch of different people or wallets and make it a lot harder to figure out where things are going. So it's the evolution of malware. And I think this is just some of their tactics. And
yep. One more attack vector.
Bingo. Exactly. So we want to be able to stop it. And again, it's preventative measures. It's really key with us. Stop it before it can ever hit the disk. And that's where application whitelisting comes into play.
Well, you did a good job of answering all the questions. This was very insightful. I look forward to, maybe a blog post with some of the little things. But like I said, you guys said you're doing the Chrome. I seen your response. And like you said, you're going to whitelist the VirtualBox thing. So anything else we have on the topic list here?
No, I think that's about it. Like I said, I just want to thank you for your time, spending a little bit of time with me and then doing the review. I know those often, don't happen. And a lot of times it's just jump on the bandwagon of whatever anyone else is saying. So the fact that you took time.
I mean, I see people post, I don't like anytime someone just posts a video going, that company sucks, XYZ, blah, 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 yell, yell, yell. And that's it. That's never, as you can tell, I'm a much more rational person. I like concise things. I like sharing knowledge. That's why I want to take time. I mean, I would have never called you guys out without ever offering a rebuttal. I mean, I don't know why Malwarebytes wouldn't let your blog post be on there. So I'm like, no, I want
weird, isn't it?
I want to hear the response. I want to know, what do you guys have to say? And what you said was very concise and intelligent. And no, I appreciate it. Anytime.
You're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'll pass you my email address offline too. And anytime you got any questions, by all means, let me know. And if you're stumbling across something or you need, another connection to link out to, by all means, let me know. All right. Well, thank you very much. And you have a wonderful evening. You too. Take care. Yeah, it's 1:30 here, so it's afternoon. So good afternoon. All right. You take care.